Hey everybody, it's Drama Mondays. Or I guess Drama Tuesdays, because it's Tuesday. But I don't know, the video might not come out till like when? Friday? Saturday even? Anyway, the channel I'm bringing to you today is Restoration VR. I want to try a new thing. I like to call it Videos Eddie Found Across the Net. We're still working on the title, so I don't know. We're workshopping. If there's anything you want to see, just send it my way. Maybe I'll do a video like this to it. But Restoration VR here brings its interesting take on the restoration scene, so to say. Let's take a look at how they fix this old Nintendo Game Boy Advance in their video, Restoration. Old Nintendo Game Boy Advance, restoring Game Boy Advance GBA. Also, Nintendo's all like weirdly worded for some reason. I don't know what that's about. But let's dive in. Okay, first thing I gotta point out here, which is a little silly, but you know, it's content. Pretty sure he didn't find that just lying on the side of the road. I'll be honest, most of his videos are him walking along the side of the road and then finding like an electronic or some antique just perfectly sitting there on the side. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but come on, man, we know you're placing it there. Don't lie. Just get straight to the point. All right, so from the jump here, let's take a look at what we're going to be dealing with in this restoration. This is a Nintendo Game Boy Advance covered in mud. It looks like it's wet, so it's been out there for quite some time. I'm assuming it has, given what looks to be some pretty severe screen damage. Overall, this thing is not worth restoring per se. If water got into that console, of which there are many spots it could get into, the cartridge, where the buttons are, and even through the cracks, the battery port, the speaker, there's holes in that console. So mud and water over time, of it just sitting in whatever it was sitting in, is slowly going to soak into this console. So any sort of, if the console has any power to it at all, it could fry chips, capacitors, any sort of like pathway could be burnt out. The mud can really corrode those connections. So those connections just could, not be as clean, meaning you would basically have to either solder a connection on the board, but honestly, you're better off just getting another board. We're going to look at this, but the amount of work that I feel would go into fixing this is not worth like what, $100? Like it's more than $100 is what I feel like he's gonna be putting into this. Just buy a used one. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? So, you know how we just talked about like water and the problems with like electronics, especially Game Boys, which are not waterproof, getting water inside of the device? Well, now he's submerging the thing in water again and getting what I assume to be dish detergent or clothing detergent to scrub it clean. Do not do this if you need to clean your Game Boy. Take the shell off. You can submerge the shell, submerge the plastic buttons. Hell, even the solid metal parts, submerge them in water and detergent. Do not submerge your board in water. Really make sure the detergent gets into all the cracks. You really want it to be clean. Uh-huh. Yeah, you see, right there at the top, you can see a gap between the battery pack back and where the clip for the battery pack would get in. Water, just water and detergent, all in there, just all watery, all detergenty. Who's this for? Aquaman? What am I, fucking H Bomber guy? Was this an Aquaman joke? What am I doing? Okay, so let's take a look at this here for all the folks at home. What you're currently looking at here is basically the dirt and mud has been so corrosive to the plastic lens and plastic case that's basically eaten away at like the purple and glass. So there's no real scrubbing that is going to get that off. You can either do two things. With the case, and this is actually not that bad of a thing to do, you could take it apart, sand it down, spray paint it. Case will be fine. It's just a case. Buttons, I would just replace those. But if you're dead set on the buttons, just some soap and water, soak them, maybe spray paint the buttons. They'll be fine. That lens, though, there's no scrubbing that lens. It's clear. If you use any sort of coarse fabric on it, you're going to scratch the shit out of that lens and just make it opaque, and you won't be able to see through it. So the lens is trash. So he turned it on, no power. Okay. So that pretty much means that board's fucked. Would not use that board. Actually, if you put batteries in there and there's no power, you could have just fried the fucking thing after you submerged it in detergent. Like, what are you doing, guy? I'm sorry. It turned on. Okay. There we go. The different story. Now, what does that mean? The board is getting power and enough signal to turn the light on. What that doesn't mean, the speakers will work. Any of the inputs will work from the buttons. The screen will display. I mean, it's endless. There's firmware on the board that is in a chip that if that board chip is fried, it's done. There's so many problems here. Okay. So looking at this board again, now that we've got that case off. So I'm assuming, just looking at it, I'd have to see the other side to make sure like the connections are fine, but just kind of looking at it, the chip connections here are dirty, caked with mud and dirt. Surprised they're not shorting the fuck out. There are capacitors there that, again, also surprised, not fried, given that it was in mud and water. I don't believe this board should do anything. Oh my god, did you see that? Tell me you saw that. If you look closely when he pulls the ribbon, like the ribbon cable out of its slot there, you can see where moisture that's built up inside that connection finally gets to release and just rides down the side of the ribbon cable there. Again, ask your parents if you don't know, what would happen if you tried to turn on electronics in water? It would fry them. It would short them. You don't do that. So Again, even though the red light turned on, that doesn't mean anything. Fuck it. Are we putting it all in here to throw it in the trash? Like, did we come to the conclusion that this thing cannot be saved and maybe taking a muddy Game Boy and submerging it in water wasn't the best idea? No, we're just going to submerge it in more water and detergent. Why? Because fuck it. That's why. We're fixing this no matter what, boys. Oh my God. I can't begin to it's clear as day here. This does not work. Oh no! Don't! He is scrubbing the shit out of that board. Yes. Will it make it clean? Sure. Hey, ask Linus. Ask Linus Tech Tips. Should I scrub my motherboard with water and detergent? Just ask Linus. If I unplug my motherboard from the wall and then just lay it down, pour water all over it, and scrub it with a brush, will my motherboard be okay? Is that fine? No, it's not fine. It's not fine at all. I'm also not sure how dangerous this is, but those are capacitors. I'm pretty sure those are capacitors on the right. And in the bottom, if I'm wrong, just quote it in the bottom. I'll read it and say something. But I'm pretty sure that if you fuck up with those can explode. Not like his hand will blow off or anything, but this is kind of dangerous, I feel, what he's doing. Hey man, if your screen's not dirty anymore, at least it's scratched the fuck up from where you put detergent and a toothbrush on it. What? Don't clean a just whatever. I can't. I'm not even halfway through this video and I'm just watching this man just live a lie in front of me. Sure, add Windex, because at this point, I mean, anything you're adding to it isn't going to make it any worse. Fuck, toss the thing in some acid, Hey, eat away all the fucking bacteria on the outside. There's no downsides at this point. It's only up from here, folks. So what you're looking at here is the, weird plasticky feltish kind of mesh stuff that's supposed to go between the board and the screen. From what I can tell, this board has been basically absorbing mud and water and all sorts of germs and become its own culture. I could see what looks to be some sort of bacteria growing on it. Looks like they've got their own standing army, own judicial, legislative, executive branches. They're doing all right there. This Game Boy, not all right, though. Quite not all right. Oh, my God. You can see how it's just fused to the back of that screen. Even if you take that off, we're talking, all sorts of microfibers that have basically, touched the back, and who knows in what way they're touching contacts and going to inevitably fuck up any connections you have. I'd expect one or two, maybe just one or two dead pixels when he goes to use the screen. No, the whole screen's gonna be black. Who are we kidding? See what I meant earlier about the case and how mud and stuff eats into that plastic? Look how much like detergent and window cleaner he's used on that. And you can see how it's just texturized that lens and made it unusable. Now imagine that mud all over the board. And you can see where I'm going here. I know I've been skipping ahead, but I do want to skip ahead here just because this is just him cleaning the case and parts. This actually I don't have a problem with. I do think, especially if you're going to spray paint a case, a custom color and whatever, using a fucked up dirty case is fine as long as you're like sanding it down and then, priming it and all that. You actually be pretty fine. So no issue there. Same with the buttons, clean them as best you can, spray paint them down. No issues there. So I'm going to skip ahead to where it's, a bit more awful. So I'm supposed to believe that this is the same board after it's been scrubbed and soaked in water. Okay. Okay, so replacing the buttons on here, the triggers, not a, you know, unreasonable thing, not something that I don't think someone could do. What I do find interesting, though, is how rusted those buttons were and how the rest of this board isn't that rusted. Like, it's not like this is really selective, so you would think that the rest of the inside would be dealing with some sort of corrosion or rust, but oddly, the board doesn't look that damaged, which I find surprising. Does that mean that he put rusted buttons onto a working board and just didn't tell people? Maybe. I don't know. Use your own imagination. Again, really interesting the lack of rust I'm seeing here. Those triggers on the side have metal on them so they can, like, go up and down. You can feel them when you're pushing down on them. And I feel like those should be really rusted if that thing's been underwater a bunch. So it looks like some of these triggers are new and not the originals. Okay, I'm gonna just real quick for my own sanity's sake, don't glue your screen into your case. There's a special type of tape that you can use that you can lay down inside of your Game Boy. So if you ever want to take your screen out because if it breaks or whatever, you don't have to chisel the thing out because you super glued it in. I'm not sure that's super glue. It could just be some light adhesive, but I would definitely use more of like a specific. There's like a specific electrical tape you can use for this specific situation. Would not recommend using some sort of paint. Would you look at that? It worked like a miracle. I'm going to be real. All he did here was buy a new Game Boy Advance board and put it in a custom case. That is all he did. There's no way that board works. There's no way that screen works. And I am feeling sad for anyone who believes that this is real. But it got over 16 million views, so someone believes it. Oh, Road to WrestleMania 8 X8? That's like the best game you got, homie? Come on, man. Get some Mario Brothers. You know? Castlevania? What else they got on the Game Boy Advance? I got Game Boy Advance games. Play those. Play the good ones. Jesus. Very interesting that when he goes to use the buttons, they're not working. But then, oh, jump cut, it's working fine. Peculiar and peculiar. Oh my god, I can't anymore. This is clearly like just a man putting on a fraud in front of us. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to show you guys this video. I've got at least a couple of others in the works, as well as some other videos that are more informal and less just us having fun. But if you have a video you want me to see, absolutely link it in the comments below and I'll give it a watch and hey, maybe do something like this. And if you do like this type of video, please like and subscribe. I appreciate you for watching this, and remember to love yourself and take care. Bye-bye.